Hey guys, so I just realized that I never did my 4 month post-op update. I am now more than 4 months. I'm like 4.5 months post-op from my mommy makeover surgery. So for those of you that are new to my channel, and I've definitely had a lot of recent subscribers, so welcome to all you guys. I had a mommy makeover surgery back on December 11th, and that consisted of a tummy tuck with muscle repair and a breast reduction. So unfortunately, I was not one of those women that needed implants. I actually needed a reduction. I had big boobies to start with. I got big boobies when I was a teenager, and I never cared for them. And so when I was done having kids, that sounds funny. I had one kid, and I did not plan on having more. I knew that at that point, I could finally have the breast reduction surgery because I had wanted to breastfeed my child. Was I going to have one at some point? So that was really important to me, and I was able to breastfeed Stella for a full year. And while my boobs looked pretty much the same, they didn't get all saggy and off looking, terrible looking, I don't know. They still look like my normal boobs, but they just got bigger, just fuller after breastfeeding. And I was like, no, I don't need giant boobs. They were just uncomfortable, heavy, and I didn't want them. So the breast reduction was a long time coming. I didn't think I would be the type that would need a tummy tuck after having a baby, but it turns out that my tummy was not going to go anywhere near what it used to look. Now, I will say I didn't have a perfect looking tummy to start with, but it was extra sad looking after I gave birth to Stella. I didn't gain a ton of weight when I was pregnant, but I carried Stella very high up and all in the front. You know how some people carry differently? Some people they carry lower or more towards their back. Stella crawled up into my rib cage, I swear, after she was conceived. She was just I'm gonna go up here and this is where I'm gonna hang out. And so my upper tummy muscles were so stretched out. I had a pretty decent case of what they call diastasis recti, which is where your tummy muscles, so this is what they look like before you have a baby. And in order to accommodate having a child, they have to separate. Your stomach muscles don't stretch out. They actually physically separate. With most people, they do tend to come back together to one degree or another, or luckily for some people, all the way. For me, I had a gap that was pretty much the width of my fist here. I could fit my fist in between my stomach muscles. So what happened is my guts were essentially able to kind of spill out because there was nothing holding them back. Your stomach muscles are what hold your intestines and other various variables inside of your body. Obviously your skin does that too, and connective tissue and stuff like that. But, I had lost that muscle tone completely. No amount of sit-ups, planks, whatever other exercise you can think of that normally helps abs, would ever force them to come back together completely again. And the surgeon confirmed that for me. During the 2 years, almost 2 years postpartum, I had definitely tried doing different tummy exercises and nothing was helping, and I think it was actually making it worse. And when I was talking to the doctor, she said that yes, certain exercises, if you're not doing them correctly, they can actually make the diastasis recti worse. So when I heard that, I just kind of stopped doing them altogether because I wasn't sure whether I was doing things correctly or not. And so I needed to have the surgery to correct the muscles, and then the bonus, I guess, was that I also had a good chunk of my stretch marks removed. And I have a playlist. So I actually have videos where I kind of talk about like leading up to the surgery, like different appointments I went to. I share with you the cost of my surgery. I share with you like my decisions surrounding all of this, like how I was setting things up in terms of having people to care for me and having people to care for Stella. So I have like a whole playlist, and I will of course link that down below for you guys. So it wasn't an easy decision for me to do this, and I'm certainly not advocating that anybody else have this surgery. I'm simply sharing my experience with you because I know that I found it helpful to both read about other people's experiences on their blogs, but also watch YouTube videos and just sort of see like different people's like scars and how they were healing at various points during the 1 year post-op healing process. It does take 1 entire year to heal from this particular surgery. It's very invasive. So I was cut from hip to hip. I will show you my scar. The skin was sort of like the connective tissue was broken in there. It was peeled up. She sewed my stomach muscles back together, so now they are back in their original position. She then pulled the skin down taut, cut off the excess, and then sewed me back together. The breast reduction, I had a fair amount of tissue removed from that. I went from I can't even remember what cup size I was. It was bigger than a triple D. I was still wearing a lot of my triple D bras because I knew that I was going to have the surgery, and I didn't want to spend a ton of money on like bigger bras. So I was like stuffing my poor boobs into like these bras that were obviously painfully too small. I am now a D cup, and I will say, so for the breast reduction, I have a slight disappointment in that I wish that they would have been a little bit smaller. Ideally, I wanted something that resembled a C cup. Surgeons can't guarantee you that you will be a certain size after your surgery is done. That was something that was, when I was talking to her in the beginning stages of all of this, my surgeon told me, she was like, I'll try to get you as close as possible, but I still want you to be proportionate. So I am 5'7". Right now I weigh about 170 pounds. And so she said, since you have kind of broader shoulders, I want to make sure that you look proportionate. I kept saying with every appointment leading up to it that I wanted to be on the smaller side of proportionate, and Craig wanted me on the larger side of proportionate. We had a little bit of a miscommunication there with that, but she definitely, I think she probably did what she could. In fact, I'm sure she did. But I do still in my heart wish that my boobs were a little bit smaller. They were lifted. I don't even really have to wear a bra anymore. I do, because you have to have good support no matter what size boobs you have. But if I want to go strapless in a dress, I don't have to wear a strapless bra necessarily anymore. I can just wear the strapless dress and I'm good to go. My boobies aren't all over the place. They just stay where they are. This is their new home, and they don't migrate from this new home. So that's really nice. But yes, they are still bigger than I wanted them to be. I'm a size 10, and I had always admired girls with small boobs. Growing up, I was like, oh, I want to be one of those girls who doesn't really have a lot of boobage. I found that more attractive than women who had giant boobs. So, but I think it's one of those the grass is always greener on the other side kind of thing. So that is a little bit of a disappointment for me, but I mean, I'm certainly not going in and I'm not going to have another surgery. They just are what they are. I'm hoping that as I continue to lose more weight, that now I can hopefully maybe lose a little bit more weight in my boobs and they will shrink just a little bit more. I think my boobs are mostly done healing. The scars are doing really well. They're very flat. When you do a reduction, they also reduce the size of your areolas. And so mine are greatly reduced from what they were. And they look good. I don't have a scar around there at all. You can see a little bit of the vertical scar, and there is like an anchor incision like underneath my boobs. You can't see it because for the most part it's like kind of like underneath. It's hard to explain. Obviously I'm not going to show you guys my boobs, but it's like right where, like when you're looking at me head on, like you can't tell. Like the only thing is there's like a faint like horizontal line, and then you can see like the scars on the side where I had the liposuction along my bra line, and then also there were drains that I had there, and you can still see the drain scars, but everything else is nice and smooth. My boobs look good. They're nice boobs. They're really nice. They are perfect. They are very symmetrical. And they just hang out like here. In terms of my tummy tuck, I still get a ton of swelling. That is the one insanely frustrating part about the tummy tuck, is that like the swelling comes and goes constantly. And it's hard because now I have like this flat tummy, but sometimes it just gets so swollen that it almost looks like the way that my tummy used to look. And that's irritating because of the amount of pain that I went through with the surgery and, you know, that financially. But here's the thing. It is because I'm still early on in the healing process. It's only been 4.5 months. It's going to take a full year for everything to really settle down. And the last time that I went to the surgeon, you know, she said, really, truly, like, up until a year and even a little bit past a year, you're just going to have to deal with the swelling because your body is healing from a massive, massive, like, trauma, essentially. You know, I had a lot of skin taken off. I had the internal sutures put in, and some people heal better than other people. I'm healing really well so far. I'm super impressed with how my scar is doing. You know, but the swelling can sometimes just be really uncomfortable. It just makes you feel like painfully bloated, especially now that my stomach muscles are sewn together. When I get bloated just from like eating too many carbs or something like that, it almost hurts because it kind of almost puts a little too much pressure on those sutures. And so I'm like, oh, my muscles hurt. So, you know, and then there's like the water weight that like sometimes shows up, especially around the incision line. Today, I'm definitely a little bit swollen. I had liposuction around like my flanks, and I do notice some swelling still around there from time to time. Some days I look better than other days. There are some days where I can literally see like what it's going to look like in the future when it's all said and done. Like I have no swelling at all, and everything is smooth and beautiful, and it looks amazing, and I'm like, yes! The swelling is done with. And then of course the next day it's like, it's back. You know, it's not terrible. It's just more annoying than anything else. It can hurt a little bit sometimes, but for the most part, it's just the same kind of pain that you get like when you're bloated and you just feel uncomfortable and like, you feel whiny. So, yeah, the swelling is still an issue. Other than that, not much is an issue. You know, I'm still not allowed to do a bunch of like core exercises. You know, right around the 6 to 8 month mark is when I think it will be okay for me to start doing those types of exercises. You know, those sutures are definitely still, the internal sutures are still early on in the healing process. And so I don't want to do anything to compromise that part of the surgery. You know, sutures popping at this point is very rare because the stomach muscles are actually, you know, kind of starting to like regrow themselves. So the sutures will eventually become kind of irrelevant at some point once I get the strength into my muscles again. But, you know, I have been walking. I really have had a little bit of a slump in terms of exercise. I had a rough couple of weeks and didn't really exercise at all for the last few weeks, and it definitely shows. I am somebody who, if I put my mind to it and I eat properly and I exercise, I do drop weight fairly quickly. I'm lucky in that way. But I have to be dedicated and I have to stick to it, and that's something that I'm struggling with right now. My mood plays a big role in that. Just everyday life, like stress affects me very, I would say pretty severely. Like, I am one of those people where when I get super, super stressed out, like, I just, like, have a meltdown. I handle things very well up until a certain point, and then it's like, well, now I'm, like, overwhelmed, and I have, like, a meltdown. So I think I'm kind of at the point where I'm, like, starting to get overwhelmed with the amount of work that I have coming up and figuring out how I'm going to balance that with being a mom. As most of you know, I've made some decisions that will make next year and the following years a little bit easier on myself, but I still have this year to finish out. And so that is definitely a source of stress, and it's something that I'm trying to figure out how to work through. But I really need to take care of myself, and I need to make it a priority. And so I'm kind of starting to, like, get back into the swing of exercising on a daily basis. My preferred form of exercise is walking. The treadmill behind me is normally what I use for that. I've also started lifting weights, just like 3-pound weights, and like doing different arm exercises. Really being careful not to like overdo anything, because when I exercise too much, the swelling gets pretty bad. So I have to find kind of that happy medium to where I'm not like causing like my tummy to become like too angry with me and like having it like completely revolt. So there's a fine balance there. So yeah, things are going good. If you watch my earlier videos, I definitely had a rough recovery. I think that was largely in part due to the fact that I just don't handle being in pain very well. And it was painful for me. It's different for everybody, so that's the one thing to know. My experience won't necessarily be your experience. You just don't know until you have the surgery. That's kind of a sucky thing, but it's also, what you have to be prepared for. So for me, it was kind of tough, but healing went really well. Once I got over like the 2-week hump, it was like easy breezy. Things are going great. Swelling and stuff like that pops up, but for the most part, I consider my recovery going extremely well, and I am happy with my results. My surgeon did a fantastic job, and I think she's incredibly talented. And while other surgical procedures probably aren't in my future, I will certainly go back to her when I get to the point where I'm ready to start doing Botox, things like that. I'm not one of those people that is now like addicted to plastic surgery. I certainly wouldn't put myself through that level of pain like every few years just to look a certain way. I'm happy with the way that my body is now, because I feel like I can get to a place where I want to be with diet and exercise. So, and that's all that I ever really wanted. I've said in other videos, I don't want to be like a size 2, like skinny mini. I'm not built that way. I have a very athletic build to my body. All I ever wanted to be was like a good solid size 10 again, and just be like a little bit more toned. The tone is what I'm missing. So that's what I need to work on. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up and show you guys what everything looks like. And and we'll end the video after that. So see you back here in 1 second. So I think this is going to work. All right. So just kind of tuck this in here. So this is my tummy. No, not much swelling up here today. This is where I sometimes will get a decent amount of swelling and it'll look pretty puffy. It's okay today. So you'll have to excuse the lines from my pants. But, scar starts here, goes all the way across. I do have swelling today in my hips, and definitely along the incision line. You can see there's like a little bit of puckering here. This isn't normal except when I have a lot of like water retention or whatever else is going on in there. The scar is really nice and low. In like swimsuit bottoms or whatever, you can definitely not see the scar, with the exception of it peeking out kind of up here at the higher points. But down here, you can't really see that. Most of the swelling is concentrated right here on most days. So you can kind of see there's just a little bit of a bump there. Definitely a decent amount of swelling here and here still. Let's see, what else? Everything still feels dead right here. I don't have feeling in this part of my tummy. By the way, she essentially cut everything from here down to the incision line off, and this skin used to be up here. So the stretch marks right here from pregnancy that were here are now here. So it was like a curtain that she pulled down. She brought my belly button back through, and I do have that purple ring around there because she obviously had to sew it in place. And yeah, I feel everything up here. This feels just fine. It's funny because like I can feel, like I have muscles under here. Like it's very tight. But yeah, so I can like, bending is very easy, you know, I can go whatever direction I want. I don't have any pulling. It's not uncomfortable in any kind of way. So with, you know, normal pants, you can kind of see that it doesn't look like I ever had anything done, which is nice. In terms of my boobs, I'm wearing a sports bra today, and this is what they look like. So they're proportionate for my size. Sorry, I have you guys up kind of high. I don't know if you can see me or not. They're just a little bit bigger than what I wanted them to ultimately be. But again, hopefully with diet and exercise, they'll shrink a little bit more. So anyway, if you have any questions about this, definitely leave me a comment down below, and don't forget to check out the rest of the playlist if this is something that you're really interested in doing. It's not an easy decision, and there's a lot to think about, so do a ton of research before you decide to do something like this. But I'm super happy with my results. So I will again do a 5-month checkup, which will actually be pretty shortly because we're already at 4.5 months. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.